Nationalist response to the First World War. So in this lesson, we are going to study about the First World War, then the nationalist response to the First World War, then the annulment of a partition, then the Lucknow Pact. What was this Lucknow Pact? This is very important pact actually. Then we will study about the Home Rule movement. Then what were the objectives of this Home Rule movement? And then at last we will study about something known as August Declaration. So first let's start with this First World War. So the First World War, in the First World War 1914 to 1919, remember this thing. The First World War was fought between 1914 to 1919. Britain allied with France, Russia, USA, Italy and Japan against Germany, Austria, Hungary and Turkey. The nationalist response to British participation in the war was threefold. That means there were three responses from India for the actually there were three responses from India for the First World War. So the moderates supported the empire in the war as a matter of duty. They wanted to support the British Empire as a matter of duty because they considered themselves as a part of the British Empire. Then the extremists, including Tilak, who was released in June 1914. Now remember, when Tilak was expelled from the Congress during the Surat session of 1907, we have studied the Surat split in 1907 when the extremists were expelled from the Congress. So at that time Tilak was imprisoned and he was sent to Mandale, that is in Burma. So Tilak was sent to jail in Burma and later on he was released in 1914. So when he was released in 1914, Tilak also supported the war efforts in the mistaken belief that Britain would repay India's loyalty with gratitude in the form of a self-government. So Tilak also supported the First World War from the British side. So the revolutionaries decided to utilize the opportunity to wage a war and liberate the country. The revolutionaries, they did not support the British effort, so they decided to utilize this opportunity and to wage a war and liberate the country. That means they decided that now Britain is engaged in war, so they will not, their resources will be scattered, they will not be able to gather their resources against the revolutionary activities. So they thought to utilize this opportunity and liberate India. So Indian supporters of British war efforts failed to see that the imperialist powers were fighting precisely to safeguard their own colonies and markets. So it is clear that in First World War neither party was neither the Britain nor the Germany nor no one was fighting for the real cause. They were just fighting they were just fighting to safeguard their colonies and their colonial interests. So that's why they failed to see the imperialist powers were fighting precisely to safeguard their own colonies and markets. Okay, so worldwide the allied powers to rally the colonies to their side during the war had promised them an era of democracy and self-determination of the war. So all the powers, those were colonizing powers, like French was also a colonizing power, then French were also a colonizing power, and then the Britishers were also a colonizing power. So worldwide the allied powers, they were giving some assurances to their colonies so that they could support them, so they could get their support from the colonies, and in turn they will give them an era of democracy and self-determination of the war. After the war, once the war is over, they will give them some type of democracy and some self-determination. Okay, so this was the promise which were made by all the colonizing powers, all the imperialist power all over the world. So during the war, both sides had launched vicious propaganda to malign and expose each other's uncivilized and colonial record. Okay, uncivilized colonial record. So each party was trying to malign either side's image, and the vicious propaganda was going on. The one country was saying that, see, this country is, as the Britishers were saying that, see, the Russia has done this thing, and that's why each country was trying to malign the other country's image. But after the war, soon it became clear from the Paris Peace Conference and other peace treaties that the imperialist powers had no intention of loosening their hold over the colonies. In fact, they went on to divide the colonies of vanquished powers among themselves. So after the Paris Peace Conference, this Paris Peace Conference was held after the First World War, and from this, the whole world came to know that the colonizing powers had no intention to free the colonies, and they had no intention to give them some sort of democracy. Instead of that, they divided the colonies of the vanquished powers among themselves. So this made the this gave the clear image of the colonizing powers. So it was decided to the annulment of a partition. So the partition was also cancelled. So it was decided to annul the partition of Bengal in 1911, mainly to curb the menace of revolutionary terrorism. Because we have seen after the Surat split, the extremists were expelled from the Indian National Congress and moderates took over the Indian National Congress. So those extremist youth leadership, they were supporting the extremist leaders like Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Bipin Chandra Pal. So they were working under the leadership of these three extremist leaders, and when these three extremist leaders were expelled from the Congress, the revolutionaries, the extremist youth, they saw that now we will have to do something individually. That's why they started the individual revolutionary activities in Bengal. So that's why this increased revolutionary activities in Bengal. So to get rid of this revolutionary activities in Bengal, it was decided to annul the partition. That means the partition was stopped in 1911. Okay, and the annulment came as a rude shock to the Muslim political elite. So the Muslims were dreaming that now they will get the Muslim dominated Bengal, and so this was a shock for them, because Britishers had promised them that they will give a university in Dhaka and they will get a province which will be wholly dominated by Muslims. So this annulment of partition was actually a shock for the Muslim elite. So it was also decided to shift the capital to Delhi as a SOP to Muslims, as it was associated with Muslim glory, but the Muslims were not pleased, because we know initially Delhi was the capital of India. So Britishers also thought that it will be better if we shift the capital from Calcutta to Delhi. So in 1911, capital was shifted from Calcutta to Delhi. So in 1911, Delhi became the British capital of India. Bihar and Orissa were taken out of Bengal and Assam was made a separate province. Okay, so this was the annulment of partition which took place in 1911. Then the Lucknow Pact was also important. So by this Lucknow Pact, two major events occurred during the Lucknow session of Congress. So the divided Congress became united, and Annie Besant played an important role in uniting Congress. Okay, remember this, Annie Besant. Annie Besant played an important role in uniting the Congress. She made a deal with the extremists and moderates, and an understanding for joint action against the British was reached between the Congress and the Muslim League, and it was called the Lucknow Pact. So Muslim League was also formed in 1906, we know that. So a pact was signed between the Congress and Muslim League for the joint action against the British. So this, according to the Lucknow Pact, Congress and the Muslim League decided to work together, to act together against the British. So the signing of the Lucknow Pact by the Congress and the Muslim League in 1916 marked an important step in the Hindu-Muslim unity. So by this Lucknow Pact, the Muslim and Hindu unity was seen, and the Congress was also united, which was earlier divided. Now with the help of Annie Besant, the Congress also united, and extremists were allowed to join the Congress once again. So the reasons responsible for the pact were the cancellation of the partition of Bengal. So Lord Curzon had partitioned Bengal in 1905, and the cancellation was done in 1911. The Muslims therefore lost faith in the British government, because Britishers had promised a lot of things to the Muslims, that they'll get a Muslim dominated province, and they'll get a university, and they'll get educational facilities for the Muslims, but they did not give anything. In spite of that, instead of that, they cancelled the partition in 1911. Okay, so and one more important thing for the Lucknow Pact was the Turco-Italian War of 1911. So the Turkish Sultan was the Khalifa of Islam. That means the religious head of Muslims in the world, religious head of all the Muslims in the world. So the Turkish Sultan was Khalifa of Islam, and he was the religious head of all the Muslims in the world. So in the Turco-Italian War of 1911, the war was fought between Turkey and Italy in 1911. So Turkey was defeated by Italy, and the British, who often projected as a friend of the Muslim, did not help Turkey. So this was one important thing, that Italy and Turkey fought a war in 1911, and in this war Turkey was defeated by Italy, and British did not help Turkey because the Sultan was very close to the Muslims. He was a religious leader of the Muslims all over the world. So this event led Muslims in India to go against the British government. Why? Because the Britishers did not help the Khalifa, their Khalifa, the Sultan of Turkey. Okay, so this was also one important thing for the Lucknow Pact, why the Muslim League joined with the Congress to fight against the British. So the World War I, 1914 to 1918 mainly, the Turkey fought against the British in World War I. The Indian Muslims considered that it was their duty to help Turkey in the Holy War against the British. So first, Turkey was defeated by Italy, and secondly, again in the World War I, the British were fighting against the Turkey, and the Sultan of Turkey, being the religious leader of the Muslims, they decided to take side of the Turkey, and they thought that Indian Muslims considered it that it was their duty to help Turkey in the Holy War against the British. So the Muslims started the Khilafat movement against the British in India. The war was going on between Turkey and Britain, and the Muslims started Khilafat movement against the British in India to support the Turkey. So the Indian National Congress supported the Muslims. That brought them to collaborate with each other. So already we have seen that by the Morley-Minto reforms of 1909, the separate electorates were introduced, and this sowed the seeds of religious discontent between these two religions, the Hindus and Muslims. But after the Lucknow Pact, the Indian National Congress also supported the Muslims, and they saw this opportunity for the Hindu-Muslim unity. Okay. So here are the soldiers in the First World War. Indian soldiers also fought in the First World War because the moderates supported the British side. So home rule movement was started. Okay, so Home Rule League was two short-lived organizations of the same name in India, established in April and September 1916. Respectively by Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Annie Besant. So these were the two leaders of the Home Rule movement or Home Rule League in India, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Annie Besant. So these were two different Home Rule movement. These were not united one single movement. So this was two different Home Rule movement in India. One was led by Bal Gangadhar Tilak and one was led by Annie Besant. So the term was borrowed from a similar movement in Ireland. Annie Besant was from Ireland actually. Annie Besant was from Ireland, and this Home Rule movement, this term was borrowed from Ireland, referred to the efforts of Indian nationalists to achieve self-rule from the British Indian government. So Tilak's Home Rule League was set up in April 1916 and was restricted to Maharashtra. Okay, so Bal Gangadhar Tilak's Home Rule League worked in Maharashtra, excluding Bombay. Then it also worked in Karnataka, then in central provinces and Berar. So remember the area where the Home Rule League of Tilak worked. So it worked in Maharashtra, excluding Bombay. Okay, remember this thing. In Maharashtra, excluding Bombay, then in Karnataka, then in central provinces and Berar. This was a question in earlier UPSC exam, and it had 6 branches, and the demands included Swarajya, a formation of linguistic states, and education in the vernacular. Now this is very important. It had 6 branches, and what were the demands of Home Rule League of Tilak? The demands were Swarajya, then formation of linguistic states, and education in vernacular languages. So these were the demands of Tilak's Home Rule League. Then Annie Besant's League was set up in September 1916. Okay, so this was the Home Rule League which was led by Annie Besant. It was established in September 1916 in Madras. Remember this thing. It was established in Madras and covered the rest of India, including Bombay city. So in Bombay city, Home Rule League of Annie Besant was working, not Tilak. So it had around 200 branches, and it was loosely organized as compared to Tilak's league, and had George Arundale as the organizing secretary. Now this is also one important thing you should remember. George Arundale was the organizing secretary of Annie Besant's Home Rule League. And besides Arundale, the main work was done by B.W. Wadia and C.P. Ramaswamy Iyer. C.P. Ramaswamy Iyer and B.W. Wadia. Okay. So the Home Rule agitation was later joined by Motilal Nehru. Now this was also a question in earlier UPSC exam. Who took participation in the Home Rule League? So the Home Rule agitation was later on joined by Motilal Nehru, then his son Jawaharlal Nehru, then Bhulabhai Desai also participated in the agitation of Home Rule. Then Chittaranjan Das, Madan Mohan Malviya, then Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Tej Bahadur Sapru, and Lala Lajpat Rai. So these leaders joined the agitation of Home Rule movement on the later stage. So remember this thing, that remember the leaders who also participated at the later stage of Home Rule movement. So here you can see the image, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Annie Besant, who launched Home Rule movement in India. So many of the moderate congressmen who were disillusioned with Congress inactivity, and some members of Gokhale's Servants of India Society also joined this agitation of home rule movement. So many of the moderate congressmen also joined home rule league, and some of the Servants of India Society members, they also joined the home rule agitation. So however, Anglo-Indians, most of the Muslims and non-Brahmins from south did not join the home rule league, as they felt home rule would mean rule of Hindu majority, mainly the high caste. So that's why mainly the Anglo-Indians, most of the Muslims and non-Brahmins from South India did not join the Home Rule League in India. Why? Because they considered that Home Rule meant the rule of Hindu majority and mainly the high caste. Okay, so here are the members of Home Rule League. So what were the objectives of the Home Rule League? The League campaign aimed to convey the common man the message of Home Rule as self-government. So they worked for the communication to the masses that Home Rule means self-government, and it carried a much wider appeal than the earlier mobilization, and also attracted the hitherto politically backward regions of Gujarat and Sindh. Okay, so it worked for the political education of the masses. The aim was to be achieved by promoting political education and discussion through public meetings. So public meetings will be there and political education will be done of the masses, and then organizing libraries and reading rooms, then containing books on national politics. So there will be libraries and reading rooms in which there will be books on national politics, and holding conferences, then organizing classes for students on politics, then propaganda through newspapers, then pamphlets, then posters, then illustrated postcards, then plays, religious songs, etc. Collecting funds, organizing social work, and participating in local government activities. So these were the ways which were to be followed for the Home Rule League, that is agitation of home rule. So remember the ways which were adopted by the Home Rule League. You can pause the lesson and then you can make notes out of this lesson and memorize this thing, because this may be a question in our UPSC exam. So on 20 August 1917 there was August Declaration. What was this August Declaration? So on 20 August 1917, Montagu, the Secretary of State in England, made a declaration in the Parliament of England on British government's policy towards future political reforms in India. That means he declared that there will be future political reforms in India. So that means he said that Indians will be given some sort of political powers in India. So he promised the gradual development of self-government institutions in India. Who? Montagu, the Secretary of State in England. Okay, so he promised the gradual development of the self-governing institutions in India, and this August Declaration led to the end of Home Rule movement, and it was attributed to the Hindu-Muslim unity exhibited in the Lucknow Pact. Okay, so because of the Hindu-Muslim unity from the Lucknow Pact, the Britishers also saw that now there is a Hindu-Muslim unity and we will have to do something, and we will have to give some sort of political powers or some type of self-governing type of political powers to the Indians. So the Montagu-Chelmsford reforms of the Act of 1919 was based on August Declaration. So the declaration which was made by Montagu, the Secretary of State for India, he gave the statement, and on this statement the Montagu-Chelmsford reforms Act of 1919 was based on this August Declaration. Okay, so that's all for the post World War, the nationalist response to the First World War. So in our next lesson, we are going to study about the Gandhian era. We will study about the emergence of Gandhi as a leader, then Gandhi coming back to India from South Africa, and we will study about the rise of Gandhi as a national leader. Okay, so that's